Thank you all for joining us. I would like to welcome you on behalf of KIBLA and welcome to the webinar with artist Selma Selman, artist with whom we are going to talk about her practice and connections with Virginie Wolf's text, A Room of Hers, A Room of One's Own. Before we go into the giving the word to Selma and to introducing her a bit, I would like to just invite you all to introduce yourself very briefly, just simply as saying your name, your pronoun, and in which kind of room do you work at the moment. So I would be the one that starts. My name is Irena Boric. My pronoun is she. And I am currently working in my living room. So please, I don't know, Jure, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Jure. My pronoun is he, and I am currently working from home, and I just recently switched to working in bed because I'm more productive that way, it seems.
Thank you. Okay, somebody else?
I can go. My name is Chungha Peter Lee, and I'm Selma's. I'm an artist also. I work sometimes with Selma, oftentimes also as a conceptual designer. And I deal with some theory, a lot of research and stuff. So I helped. Sometimes I work with AI and other activists and academics to help organize theory and research and information for artists.
In what kind of room do you work at the moment?
Right now, I'm like 15 feet away from Selma in a different room. One, because she hates me, and two, because there's another couch there, so it's shared studio.
Okay, thank you. I mean, it is relevant for the theme and the conditions we are currently living. So Spela, do you feel like introducing yourself?
I have to unmute myself. Hello. So my name is Spela Oberstar, and my pronoun is she. And I'm just going to a regular job, so my work is there. And at home, I have my own room. I work wherever I want, in bed, in living room, in my room. I mean, it's just simple like that, nothing special.
Thank you, Spela. So now I would just like to mention that this is the idea of this reading circle is to get to know more about Selma's practice through the perspective of Virginie Wolf's text, and to try to use both as a possible base for further discussion. So if you don't have to be somebody who knows everything about Virginie Wolf's text or Selma's practice for that matter, even if you do, of course, you can bring something to the discussion, and everybody is invited to contribute in whatever kind of way you would like to. But before we start with our own exchange of ideas and thoughts, I would like to invite Selma to present her practice. So Selma is an artist who is originally from Bosnia and Herzegovina, from Bihać, but at the moment she's actually based in the United States, in Washington, D.C. And she get her bachelor degree from Fine Art Academy in Bihać at painting department, and she continued her studies in the United States at University of Syracuse. For her practice is quite important to use performance as a medium, but also she's constantly negotiating the way structural oppression is taking place and the way to resist to that kind of oppression, which is often based on her own personal experience. So Selma, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Irena, for the wonderful introduction. So since I have really a lot of work, I think I would now mostly focus on the works which I did with my mom and which are somehow connected with the topic that we will talk today. But I can just say that for me, it is important that I use art as a tool. And I'm not really interested in showing the beautification with the work as much as I am like looking forward, how do I make the change with my work and how do I bring the, like how do I use art as a tool in order to bring a new ways of survival for the marginalized, oppressed women. And for this case, I would like to talk about the work I did with my mom, which is called Saltwater at 47. I don't know if you had opportunity actually to see this work, but this is the work where she goes to the seaside for the first time. So maybe I can just share some photos or like maybe like just some photos and some link about the work. I have first to find it. Okay, so this is that. So here you can see it's just one screenshot when my mother said that water is really salty. So basically what happened that my mom was actually married at age 12 and she was living in Kosovo during that time, during the former Yugoslavia. At age 13, she was married off for my father, who was that time 17. And then, during that time, it was normal if a bride comes to the in the husband's house, they're already perceived that they're married. They don't have officially to be recognized by the state. And, like after the Yugoslavia and after the war, my mom was somehow stuck in Bosnia and there was no way for her to get out from Bosnia because she didn't have any documents. When she was living in Kosovo, she didn't have any documents as a child. And then also in Bosnia, since she was not married officially, she didn't have any proof that she was living in Bosnia. And during my childhood, like she would always tell me like how much she would actually really like to experience how is that to pass the border and how is that to experience the sea. Is it really salty as she heard that it was? So she was assuming about this, which is very utopian. And what happened was that since I was an artist during that time, and I was like, okay, as an artist, now I have a power and I can use art as a tool and I can actually make something about this. But before I would make this work, I actually made all this research and I took her to the sea without thinking that this could be an artwork one day. So during the research, we had many obstacles and many phases that we had to go through. The first one and the hardest one was how do we find a proof that she was living in Bosnia during the war? Because there is a law in Bosnia which says that all immigrants and migrants who lived in Bosnia during the war, they have right to get the citizenship of Bosnia. And this was in 2014, 2013, when a lot of people from Bosnia actually wanted to immigrate to Germany, to Austria. And it was very paradoxical, where my mom was looking for the Bosnian citizenship, everyone was looking for the German. And then my mom told me the story that she was receiving humanitarian aid during the Bosnian War in 1992. And she said that maybe we should go and look for this man that she knows because they were neighbors. And we went and we actually had a talk with this guy who said that he actually saved this document. And we went to the police station and with this document and with the two witnesses, we actually proved that my mom was living in Bosnia during the war. So after 47 years, she becomes visible. She gets her citizenship. And then I took her to the beach, to the seaside, and I had my camera with me and I just decided to record because I wanted to show this video to my sisters because my sisters were looking forward to see like how she felt, when she first experienced the sea. And I think this was one of the best time for my mom. And then later on, like when we came back home, it was very interesting how this work became the emancipation for other women, because my mom is not the only one who didn't have documents during that time. Like many other Roma women who were married also very young didn't have the documents. So my mom would serve there as a role model, and she would actually advise them how they can get their documents, which is really amazing because my mom is not educated. She doesn't know how to read and write, but for me, she is the most progressive woman I know. And going further with this research, I came across very important and very great philosopher and theorist, historian that I really appreciate, Marina Grđinić, and she's also talking about necropolitics and about the term which is called deading. She's saying that all immigrants and migrants who are actually traveling, from one part of the country to another, their bodies in the process of dying, but they never die. And she called them deading. So I was really inspired by this term that I had to create my own, which is called lifing, because I was thinking, seeing my mom and like other women and immigrants, refugees, I think that they're not bodies who are in the process of dying. I see them more as a bodies who are in the process of living. So they look forward to live, not only to survive, because they want to live. So I call it lifing. And then later on, I did many works with my mom. And later on, I actually created a work which is called A Pink Room of Her Own. And yes, the title directly comes from the Virginie Wolf's book. I was really inspired by that. And the reason why I wanted my mom, first of all, to have her room is because I wanted my mom to have the freedom, the authority, because she never had it. But the story is also similar, like in the work with the salt water, because her childhood was lost. She never had a chance to be a woman on her own. She actually had to bear only two roles, whether to be a mother to us or to be a wife. She was to cook, she was to clean, but she was never to gain her own rights. So with this room, which I created according to her fictive and real memories of the room which she desired as a child, I actually created first, this is the first work where we actually talked about the work. We talked about the room that she desired, and I was drawing it. And then later I created this 3D print, as you can see here, and everything is in pink. And now here you can see that she actually got her room, she got her privacy. And I think this is something which we can also connect with the emancipation, but also like with the work of Virginie Wolf, because she says if woman is to write a fiction, she has to have enough money, and a space. But my mom, she's not writing, right? This is the difference. But she needed this room to get her own authority and to get the freedom of her own. Do you have questions or something to add? I can continue to talk.
Yes, I have some questions, but maybe I would just ask you to say if you want to say something more, and then we will go directly to the text.
Yeah, definitely. For me, this is one of the most important works because it's directly related to the reality of my mom, because it's not only that her dream and wish came true, it's about the authority that she had to get, because I think she was looking only for the normal thing. This is so simple and so normal that she gets. And then later, maybe it would be really great also to connect all both works with another work that I'm also doing with girls, which is called Get the Heck to School. And in this work, I'm actually giving the scholarships to Roma girls who are coming from the marginalized group of people. And they get the monthly scholarships so they can finish the elementary school and later start to go to the higher education. So for me, this is also a way how I can use the art as a tool, and how we actually give the opportunity to women actually to whether make art, whether like write stories, do whatever they want. And it's also very interesting that in Virginia's book, she's actually creating the fiction about Shakespeare's sister, who actually never had a chance to write a play because she actually, you know, like she met a man, like, and she only had children, and then at the end she killed herself. So that was kind of the story of women during that time, you know. So my process and my goal is that we don't have any women who would like kill themselves, or the women who will not actually have the opportunity to do whatever they want with their lives, to actually get education and to get opportunity, which is a human right for every child. And I think it's also very, for me, it's wonderful that in the last page of the Virginia's book, which is, she actually goes again to the Shakespeare sister, and she's saying that she hopes that this book is going to be the example for other girls, that we don't have any girls, or the situation like which happened to the fictional Shakespeare sister, that that Shakespeare's sister would come if we worked for her, and that's so to work even in poverty and obscurity is worthwhile. So somehow I connect this last sentence also with the my works Get Back to School, but also with the Pink of Her Own and the Salt Water.
Okay, thank you, Selma, very much. I would just maybe briefly say a few things about Virginie Wolf. She's born in late 19th century in actually quite wealthy family, and her father was a writer, and her brothers were educated at Oxford and Cambridge, and her and her sister were educated at home. Because at the time it was, yes, this education was more accessible to wealthy men rather than women. But also she had some kind of nervous breakdowns when her mother died, and then when her father died, and also she was quite traumatized by the death of her brother. And around 1900, she started already to write reviews for many different newspapers, like Guardian. And she also taught literature and history at college for grown-ups. And she was also like part of circles that were gathering around her brothers. So she was kind of in that kind of same circle. And what is interesting, which we also find in the book, is that she was supported by her late aunt. In a sense, her late aunt was also encouraging her to start writing well, let's say it like this, because before that she had to accept all these kind of different kind of jobs for that were enabling her just to survive, to kind of have certain money and be able to go, because this kind of moment that you write and you don't really know what's going to happen out of it, it takes some kind of conditions. And so this is like, let's say, the beginning of the introduction to Virginie Woolf's text. I could imagine that you may have read it before, or you may haven't, I don't know. But I think it is very interesting as a text that is written almost 100 years ago in 1929, and that she is even addressing this issue of saying, I hope in 100 years, what will happen with the woman, how more free we will be, and so on. Of course, with Virginia's text, there is also this criticism that it is kind of text that it is written from somebody who is privileged, it's not, I mean, she was really in a wealthy family, educated family, and so on. So she had really like access, even though she was still aware of recognizing certain conditions of women that were not there at all. So maybe to start to think about your work, Selma, it's like, for me, it's very interesting that you actually, for example, when I saw the work first time, the first thing that was kind of distracting me, or I don't know, kind of took my attention, was that the room is so pink. It's incredible because it's, again, and then this kind of brings that moment from childhood's dream rather than a grown-up's dream, because the thing is that, exactly as you said, your mom, I didn't know it was actually so early that she got married already with 12. So in a sense, that kind of process for her, there was no space for becoming whoever she could be. And I found it interesting also in the interview you did with her, is that she mentions, I got the room, like when she mentions that she was sleeping together with parents somewhere around them, and then she got a room when she got married, but it's actually a sleeping room. So in a way, it's kind of that moment where the work moment for work, and then that's another thing to discuss, what is the domestic work and what invisible work, and then what is this work that we got paid for. That's another thing that Virginia is actually tackling upon. But I would like to know how did you came to do this? Like, in a sense, what was your trigger when you were reading Virginia, and then you find immediate comparison to your mother? So like, what was, I'm just curious about what was your process behind it.
Yeah, the thing is, first, when I came up with the idea, I didn't think about the book by Virginia. Like, I just made the work because for me it was very important that I actually make the work for my mom where she can go somehow to the process of her childhood, because you mentioned that like the room is really pink, because mostly all girls, you know, during that time, or even some today, they want to have pink room. So you can see that at her age of 52, she still has this desire, and this desire means that she still is somehow child in herself, you know, at this age. And this was the trigger for me, and the most important thing. And then later on, you know, like thinking about, okay, how do I title this work? I mean, this is the process of my works, how I do. Then I was thinking actually about the book and how actually it is somehow connected, but also disconnected, because Virginia is also talking about, you know, like one thing, and I'm talking about something which is also very personal, you know, even though, like you said, like, yeah, she's talking about her privileged position because she had the money and she had the opportunity, but at the same time, at least she wrote a book, you know, she wrote essays which are talking about the issues which are so kind of, how would I say, like a money and a room is so simple, you know, and everyone should get that right. As the same for my mom. My mom should have get the right to have her own room, which means she had the right to go through her childhood, but she didn't have because of the you know, the issues we have today, which is patriarchy. And Virginia is also talking about the patriarchy, which is a huge problem. It was a huge problem during that time, and it is still a huge problem during this time. And as you said, 100-year past. And at the same time, we're talking about capitalism. She's not talking about capitalism directly, but you can actually, you know, like to reading the book, you can actually see that, yes, the capitalism was there. And then, you know, there are like so many other facts which influenced on me to create this work by my mother, because, you know, she's not to write a book. My mom is not going to write a book, neither she's going to make money from this work. But she got her own room where she's going to sleep there and make whatever she wants. It's her privacy, completely privacy and complete freedom, that I have nothing to do with this. No.
Okay, thank you. I wonder if anybody else has something to share.
I would like to just, sorry, Jure.
Okay, Spela and then Jure.
Okay. So Selma, hello again. I wanted to ask you, because it's my first time that I see your work, and it's really, really great and so meaningful. And I can see the link to Virginie Wolf's idea of necessity that, you know, every woman especially should have her own private space. Is it the room, or of course the room in this case? But I wonder now, yeah, the pink room, it also got me really really zoomed in into this room. But what I'm wondering is how did your mother then experience this, suddenly having this, you know, this trip to the childhood, and that now her own room, which is, you know, it must have meant a lot. I mean, some kind of a change. What did she say about it? Did you talk about it? Of course you did, probably.
Yeah, I mean, like my mom was the most happiest person to get her own room where she has like she actually requested a piano. She wanted to have a pink piano, which I was not able to find anywhere. And it was so huge and the room was so small. And then later she told me, like, can you actually make me the makeup piano, which I'm going to put my makeup, and on this table I want to have like a doll, like a Frozen. I don't know if you know this cartoon. And I had to find all of this. I had to find the guy who's gonna make this table, actually. So of course she felt very important. She felt like she has the authority because I gave her all cash I got from the grant, and she was just choosing what she wants, which means this is first time that she got the money in her hands and to buy whatever she thinks she needs. And it was very interesting that other women from the village, also from the city, they would come to see the work, and then my mom would explain what is the work about. And I think that's the best critique I ever get, you know, because the way she explains about my work, you know, so.
Okay, thanks. And about that, you said you had a project to help young Roman children for scholarship. How is that funded? I mean, how do you get to do that?
So
it's fantastic.
For the first few years, I was collaborating with various NGOs across the world, and we would make, you know, the exhibition, and then we would make the fundraising nights. We would sell my work, where 100% would go to the foundation. But now, since I'm working alone on this, like for the few last year, actually everything, all funding comes from my private, you know, funds. Like I sell work, I give 50% to the foundation. I make online fundraising nights, you know, I sell sometimes shirts, everything what I can do. Because here we are not talking about the millions, I'm talking about the $50 a month for the child to go to school. So it's not much when you compare it to, you know, like what, you know, change this support does for the children. So, and I have 12 girls who are getting the full scholarship, so I'm focused mostly on the girls, but I also have 2 boys. And usually we would have 50 lunches for 50 children, like a daily lunch in school, sandwiches. But since pandemic started, we had to kind of stop with this program because children would have online schooling, and sometimes they would go to school, sometimes not. And it was very dangerous also, like for me to deal with the kitchen in the school, so I had to kind of stop this funding.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Hi.
I had similar questions to Spela's actually, because I was there for the opening of the room on Instagram Live. I was watching that, and that was in April, I think, or sometimes around that time, right? And I was wondering, how has your mother adjusted to having this room? How has she kind of domesticated it, or how is she using it? And similarly to what Spela said, or you mentioned, is how the community around your mother is seeing your artistic career and your work, and also the girls from Marš u školu. How do you speak to them about your work as an artist, and what kind of responses they have to your work?
I think for me, the most important thing is that when I approach them, my community, I approach them as a human being. Like, I don't approach as a, you know, Selma Selman being important artist. No, I feel myself like a normal, you know, still integrated woman, like in the village. And I have a huge respect for my village, and they all, of course, come and like ask for advices, you know, if they need. But since my mom got the room, like now I have other people who tell me to make their dreams come true. So it's very tricky now to be in this kind of position. And for the opening, like, yeah, it was online opening, and it was really funny because it was kind of private. And my brother, he was a curator. He was reading a text which I wrote. And then like I had other children, my niece and nephews, they were like cameramen, camerawomen, you know, like recording and everything. And then my mom was like a superstar, the main guest. And then we also had a cake and barbecue after the party. It was like a real opening, you know. So my mom is using room as any room. She's sleeping there. She has her stuff, you know. It's like when people come to visit, it's like the most kind of precious thing in the house. You know, she opens the door to show, this is my room. You know, because it looks like a hotel room, you know, in the house, which is normal house. So, yeah.
But I really like, sorry.
So, you know, I just wanted to know about the girls, how of the school, how they see, you know, your art, or do you speak to them about your art?
Of course, I do. Like, and they do understand, and they understand it. And I have a big role. They see me as a role model, right? And I'm aware of that. And for example, like the girls who are like now 18 and 19, they're the one who talk with me mostly because they're also my students, you know. So we would have this normal, nice conversation, but also my role as a mentor and role model is to be somehow ground on the floor. I can't be so much kind of friendly with them because I'm still a mentor. Neither I can be so critique with them. So I always have to find a balance, because if I will be too much friendly with them, or say like, okay, life is just a joke, or like, you know, then they would probably, I don't know, do something else. But since I go there and I say like education is the most important thing, and you have to study, you have to get good grades, not because of me, it's because your life, I have nothing to do with that, then they start to think about me like very serious. Of course, it's not that I have like so many people who love me. I also have people who don't like me and who don't like what I do. And I become like a nightmare for them because I'm someone who wants to bring the change, and they don't want the change because they're fine with their lives. So I have many obstacles that I have to go through in order actually to have and to gain the trust of the children and from my community. Yeah.
I just wanted to have a comment. Previously, I really like the opening moments and also the moment that your work is actually your mother's room.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of reminds me also on this quote by Mladen Stilinovic that a gallery is just a room.
Yeah.
And that kind of moment that you actually bring in art into that kind of context, and that you engage your brother as a curator, I think this is really nice. Also like subtle institutional critique in a way. So
no, it's really good.
So I think
yeah, I mean, I still didn't have a chance to actually, because this is a new work, I still didn't have a chance to write, you know, about this work, or I actually didn't even edit the work, you know, I never showed it, you know. I'm now in the process of you know, and I'm challenged by this, how do I show this work in the gallery, because this work already exists as an artwork. in my house. So how do you show it in the gallery and the museum? You know, so if you have any ideas, be free to email me. Yeah. Yeah, but I also wanted to say, like, isn't it like, for example, many things which I do are somehow normal things, you know? I'm asking for the normal stuff for people. Like, it's human right for everyone to have their own room, right? It's a human right for everyone to get a free education, to be educated. It's a right for every child. I don't know, it is normal and right for a woman to have a passport. Why is this perceived as abnormal? Why is this the problem today? You know? So I was just talking with Peter like a few days ago, and we were actually both reading and researching about the book of Thomas More, Utopia, which was written 500 years ago, you know? And I was like, this book, which is talking about the perfect country, about the perfect city, was written 500 years ago, and we still have problems. We still cannot manage. We still live in a world without equality, full of poverty, full of stereotypes. And then you think 500 years ago, there was like a nice, some parts are really good. How do we actually build a normal and healthy nation with equality, with tolerance, within religions, with everything, just where everyone would be kind of living normal life? And it is sad actually to say that today, in the 21st century, you know, children who live in a poverty, who live without anything, they feel that they live in a normal society because that's normality for them. So. Peter, would you like to add something?
I would vote for you for president.
Great.
Well, sorry. Speaking about the president and the election, maybe Selma, you can say a little bit about your latest performance. And I think it quite relates to what you were talking about, of kind of not being able to understand how after 500 years we are still dealing with the same questions that we know that we need to address, but it seems that we are not getting to it, or that it's always a struggle.
I'm trying to think which performance I did. Like,
well, I mean the one on the election.
Oh, okay,
day.
you have no idea. Okay, you have no idea. Okay, yeah. This was the latest one. Actually, we organized it together with Peter Lee and other students. It was part of MoCA museum here, which is like a small museum, and like it's like digital. And it was election day, and we were thinking about, okay, I have to do something. We all have to do something. What do we do? And we had one idea, which is really good, but it didn't make sense during that time. So our first idea was to make a work which is called Where is My UBI, which is saying like, where is my universal basic income? Because this is something that I was researching about. And then like we went there, and then like in all these like, you know, like group of people like who were very different, and everyone is doing like different kind of stuff. Someone was singing Trump is gonna lose his job. So one group of people was singing this. Another group of people were like people who were like talking about the importance of Jesus, so screaming Jesus. And another group of women with the flag celebrating something, I don't know. Another group of people who was like supporting Trump. Another group of people supporting Biden. And no one had no idea what's happening. And I found myself standing there in the right and perfect moment, which is going to happen one time in history. What do I do? And I realized, and we all agreed, that the only performance we could work, and the only one, is you have no idea. Because that's actually what was happening. And then you find me like in my neon robe, which is very kind of like natural, kind of weird color, but at the same time, the color which seeks attention, right? And then I'm walking through there and screaming and yelling with my own unprivileged position, where everyone would think that I am privileged in that particular time. And then I scream, "You have no idea." And I think it was the moment when many things clashed, because I put myself in a danger, because this is not a gallery or space where I'm saved by the gallerist, right? I put myself in a danger because you never know what can happen. Like, police were there, military was there, and I was going directly to the White House. And it was like so many emotions and so many things, and all cameras were on me, all kind of televisions. I don't know if you saw the video, but it was like very weird. I think that was the first time when I felt really as an artist, like powerfully, and like also in a very vulnerable, but also very powerful at the same time. So "You had no idea" was actually the right thing to do, because that's what is happening with saying one sentence where you say nothing. I actually said everything to everyone.
Maybe to go a little bit to Virginia's text, when she is actually talking about the conditions of work, in a sense of why are women poor, no? Why are women drinking water and men are drinking wine? So that kind of moment in which the difference is different. I mean, the difference is obvious, and it's already there that woman cannot make anything, because it's already that she is not only that there is no space, but there is also no money, and also no rights to do anything. So for example, that kind of moment in which she writes, the world did not say to her as it said to them, "Write if you choose, it makes no difference to me." There was an enormous body of masculine opinion to the effect that nothing could be expected of women intellectually. So maybe to kind of draw this parallel, like, I wonder, Selma, what were your conditions for work when you started to deal with art? Because already the conditions to go into art and to do art as your practice, it's something that is already very challenging, especially if you don't have a background. And it's very known that a lot of people who are going into art field have certain backgrounds and have certain privileges already. So I'm just curious, how was it for you when you were not coming from a privileged position, but again you kind of went with the art and stick to it? And it's not something that is also, like, you cannot count on art, even if you are amazing at it, you cannot count on it to give you money, actually. So in a sense, I'm curious to know more about what was your experience.
First of all, I think, and I agree, Virginia, that women should get money if they're about to make art or write a fiction, because that would be much easier, and then we would all make a genius works, because we would be much more relaxed, right? But for me, like, I had to go through the certain circumstances which were very hard. And first I had to get myself very educated in order to make money. And when I made money, like, now I'm much more kind of experimental with my art, because I'm much more relaxed, right? But for example, like, like going into art school means that it's going to be very expensive. And if you're coming from unprivileged, impoverished family, how then it makes sense, because on what you're going to paint. So I knew this, but I risked on my own. Like, I knew that it's going to be hard. But I found many ways how to make money. Like, I was painting a lot for other kids in the elementary school, so I would make money like that. I was selling sometimes gold from my rich friends who would give me gold, and I would give it to my father. Then my father would sell, then we would share money with my friends in school. So you know, since age 8, I would make my own money. And then later I was like helping to my father in the scrap yard. I was making money, saving. And then like when I was in a high school, I started to sell a lot. I mean, for me during that time, it was a lot to make like 50 euros a month. It was huge, you know, like to sell your work. And I was like probably 17 years old. And then I was painting landscapes. I was painting horses. I was painting donkeys, dogs, portraits. Many people would give me back the paintings because they would say like because buildings, it's a mosque and it is the church. And if you make the church bigger than the mosque, then they're gonna return it. So I always had to do the opposite. Even visually it's impossible, like in the landscape. So this was one way. And another way, for example, which was very interesting, but it's also today is part of my artwork, is like when I was painting, like a huge paintings, it was always like a danger of not making a good painting. So I was that if I would paint something which is not good, I wasted money. And then I realized that I'm going to use the scrap method yard, and I started to paint, like much better, nicer, and much relaxed. So I'm using that objects even today, even though today I can afford the canvas, right? But I don't like it so much as I like to paint on the unvaluable stuff, which are kind of wasted, doesn't have any value, but when you put it in the terms of art and transform them, they become much more valuable.
I wonder if anybody else has some kind of comments around the text or around the Selma's work.
Well,
yeah, for me, this is... okay.
Sorry. Maybe an obvious question. How has the development of the world pandemic affected your work and the conditions in which you work?
Well, since I was in Bosnia for the 8 months, in the lockdown, I actually created a studio of my own for the first time after so many years, because that was my dream, to have my studio. And since I was at home and I was not able to go anywhere and I had some savings, I built my studio from the scratch, actually, everything. And now it's also serving as an art residency, but also as a library for the children, for the village and the city, and also as a multimedia library for kids, so they can rent the laptops. And during that time, I also made my mom's room. So I was creating a lot of spaces during that time, which is really interesting. So it was very challenging, but at the same time for me, like I always say, with the crisis comes opportunities, as politicians say. So, thank you for asking, Jure. I see you're drinking wine and smoking. It's great. That's the best way, actually, to be part of the discussion.
Okay, because we are soon coming to the end, I will have just one more quote that I would like to bring in. And this is this moment, how much, and I would be curious about your opinion, how much art creation depends on the money. So to quote Virginia, intellectual freedom depends upon material things. Poetry depends upon intellectual freedom. And women have always been poor. Not 200 years merely, but from the beginning of time. Women had less intellectual freedom than the sons of Athenian slaves. Women then had not had a dog's chance of writing poetry. That is why I have laid so much stress on money and the room of one's own. So I'm just curious about you, about your opinions, about how much money, good money conditions make good art or make art possible. Is it completely, would you agree with this, or you would not really agree with this?
I mean,
so
like,
this is a point
the thing is, like, it would be pathetic for me to say like, well, we don't need money, we can just make arts, we are artists. No, we need money, of course. We need money because we live in capitalism. But we don't need like to be rich or billionaires to make money. We just need enough, which is support, as I said, the normal stuff. You need basic stuff, health insurance, you need a space where you can stay, you need a food to eat, and you need like some money, you know, for your necessities, and this is all. But at the same time, when you think about the role of women in the ancient time during the Mayas or Aztec, women were very precious. They were very, very respected. You know, everyone would ask first the woman's opinion and then actually do the stuff. Later on, during the, you know, like colonialization, occupations, capitalism, and patriarchy, you know, the world becomes a nightmare for a woman. Even though today, you know, women do drink wine, you know, like we do drink wine because we somehow created our own independency, our own freedom. As you can see, we are surrounded by powerful women. Everywhere where you go, you would see independent women who is like doing great stuff. So anyone wants to add something?
If not, then I will actually conclude this session. We are super on time.
Great.
I think I would like to thank everybody for being here and for participating, and especially to Selma for finding time and space for this time difference and everything. And yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Irina, for putting this program, and thank you all for being part of the discussion.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great day.
Bye.
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 Yeah.